Yo, what's going on, guys? We are back with another Madden 20 video, and the full game for everyone, even those who didn't pre-order the game, officially drops on August 2nd. And to help those that are still on the fence about buying it or wondering if this man's different than man's past, I'm gonna go ahead and give you my overall review of the game. I'm gonna tell you the top 5 good things about the game, things that I really like, things that are different, and things that I hope that they keep growing on later as the game goes on, and then the top 5 bad things, the things that obviously need some work and that hopefully we see like a patch or something for later on in the year. So I'm gonna start it off with my number 5 thing that I like about Madden 20 is that speed matters this year. Back in Madden, I'd say maybe a year or two, like a few months ago, you would have problems where D linemen would catch up to your running back on breakaways and stuff like that. It just got really annoying where players that were just so much slower than your speed guys would just catch up to you and you get tackled by the shoestrings and just stuff like that happen. That's very unrealistic. That doesn't happen in the NFL. If Tyreek Hill breaks away, he's not going to get caught up by a slow middle linebacker or a slow defensive lineman. But this year, it's different. Speed actually does play a factor in the game and matters more. Yeah, the D linemen and the middle linebackers do not catch up to you. Players like Tyreek Hill and Marvin Harrison, who just have insane speed in the game, they can take the tops off the defenses, run drag routes, man-to-man. They don't stay on them, and they just break away so much easier. It's a good step in the right direction. I do like that they focus more on the gameplay aspect of speed overall. Prices of these Tyreek Hills and all these other speed guys, they're going to be going for so much, and as the year progresses, you're going to have more guys like that who are going to continually to have a high value to them just because they're fast. Alright, moving on to number 4. The thing that I like is they got rid of that boring mode, long shot. Nobody played that. That mode was horrible. The story was cheesy. It was just, overall, I just didn't like it. It was bad. And instead, they added a different story mode called QB1, which is nice. I mean, it's nice for those who like to be a quarterback, but it's nice for those who like to play different positions, like on the defense, wide receiver, halfback. But whenever I played story modes, I always liked to be the quarterback. I created the quarterback. So in this story mode, I won't ruin too much for it, but either way, you pick your college team that you want to go to. Yes, they finally added college teams, a few of them, which is nice, but either way, your career didn't go as expected, and you start in the college football playoffs, and then after that, you get to play in the NFL Combine, which I feel like it's really cool that they had the college teams. You get to pick some of them. I mean, there's some big name schools in there, I believe Florida State, Oregon, Miami. You got some pretty cool schools you can choose from. And then the NFL Combine, I don't remember them ever having that in any of the NFL career modes. And if how you do with that actually has an impact of how you do overall and where you get drafted, which is really cool. Like I said, I won't ruin too much of the story for you, but I'm actually excited to play the story mode for the first time since, man, it's been a while. I don't even think they had a story mode. I think it was just the career. But yeah, I think that's a very cool aspect that they added. I'm excited to play it. Alright, the number 3 thing that I like is that pressure matters. You can put pressure on the quarterbacks. If you run a blitz, it's going to do a lot more. You're going to put pressure on the QB. We're back in Madden, somehow a lineman would block 2 guys at the same time. You would run a blitz, you'd be sending everybody, and it wouldn't matter because somehow they just got picked. They just got picked up. I don't know, I'd rush 6 guys, and all of a sudden one guy breaks in. But I don't know. Either way, it was just annoying. It did nothing. But this year, blitzes actually have an impact of how you do. You can't just sit in the pocket forever and wait for somebody to get open like you could previously. And the good thing about that is that they added, I'd say it's a little pressure meter where if you put pressure on a quarterback or they have to scramble out of the pocket or throw off their back foot, their throws are going to be extremely inaccurate. They're not going to be on target with the receiver that they're thrown to at all, which could lead to an interception or incomplete pass, even if they're wide open, stuff like that. I do like that aspect. They might need to nerf it a little bit because sometimes throws are just 20 yards away, but either way, I feel like this is more realistic than Tom Brady being on a run, throwing across his body, other side of the field, and completing it. Like, that does make sense. Tom Brady's slow shit. But either way, I really like that about the game. It gives me the opportunity to mix in blitzes and other packages that I have on my defense, which is really nice to have because then I don't just have to keep running the same zone. Also, man coverage is really good this year. So overall, defense just seemed to have a huge improvement in the game this year. And you just can mix in more plays. Like I said, you can run. Zone's always been like decent. Man's never been good. Blitzes haven't been that good. But this year, you can definitely see the impact, and I feel like you'll notice that when you first play the game, that defenses, it's actually going to matter as long as you have a good scheme and you actually know what you're doing on defense. Number 2 is the running game. The running game has also seen a huge improvement. The running backs have crisper cuts when you're trying to cut back in, and then you can also run up the middle. Last year's man and the year before, that was very hard to do. You generally had to run it outside, and if you got to the outside, that is how you get your big yardage plays. You run up the middle, you generally run into line, you get 2, 3, maybe 4 yards. You just didn't get a lot of yards. But this year, you definitely can, running up the middle. Even if you run into linemen, you guys are much more agile and have these cleaner cuts, so you don't run into your linemen as much. You get a few more yards. I'd say you can break off big runs. You can get 10-yard gains running the ball up the middle, which I do feel like this is very nice to see, especially since it's been bad in the past. But overall, I really do like the gameplay adjustments that they've made with the running game and the defense. There are still some problems with the gameplay, but I'm hoping that those things do get patched up in the near future, which I'm sure they will, because obviously if a lot of people keep complaining, then it looks bad for EA. And then the number one thing that I love about Madden is that they added the Superstar and X Factor abilities this year. The X Factor and the Superstar and X Factor abilities are just abilities you can equip your, I believe it's your player in the My Career mode, QB1, and then players, abilities you can equip on certain players and MUT and stuff like that. And basically these super stars and X Factors give your player, I'd say, abilities, and it may sound dumb, but overall it just makes them feel more like how they actually play in the NFL. And you don't just get them at the beginning of every game. You have to meet a certain benchmark and do a certain amount of things before you lock at these abilities. Some of them are pretty cool. You got Patrick Mahomes can get something called Bazooka, where he's able to throw 15 yards farther than what he actually does and throw across his body more, which Patrick Mahomes does do in real life. Overall, I feel like it just separates players and makes them feel more like superstars. It just, makes them feel like superstars, and it's not overly cheesy either. You get the X Factor activated, it's not oh my god, I'm screwed. No, you still got ways to stop them, but overall, if they get in a zone, they just play better. It's just real NFL football, and Madden finally implemented that, whereas in years past, there were a lot of cards where it's do I go with a 96 overall card or the 99 overall card? They got similar stats, but the 96 is cheaper. Obviously, you go with the 96 overall unless you got an abundance of coins. yeah, then it's just like these players are just too similar. Like one doesn't stand out from the other. But with these abilities, the hope is that they will. And so far, from what I've noticed, they do. Rodgers has an ability where he's able to scramble out of the pocket more and throw on the run. Rodgers does that in real life. Patrick Combs the bazooka. He does that in real life. Some of them are really cool. You'll have to go through and look at them each one individually and just kind of see which one you like and etc. But I do recommend looking into those because those are really cool features. Alright, moving on to the 5 bad things about Madden. Number 5 is you still can't make uniforms or stadiums in MUD or franchise or anything, which is something I know that people have wanted for a very long time, is to be able to make their own uniforms or stadiums. 2K you can do it, MLB you can do it in Diamond Dynasty, and 2K's my team. So I don't get why Madden hasn't implemented that yet, especially considering they don't come out with a ton of jerseys throughout the year, or like insane jerseys that people are just going to want to buy. I think it'd be cool to give your users and your audience more of a user experience where they can actually go through and make their uniforms, unless they're scared of like people using profanity and just stuff like that. So I don't know the real reason for why they don't do it, but it's something people have wanted for a long time. Moving on to number 4 is the animations. The animations still need some work. Sometimes the catches and the just animations you get on plays, they don't really make sense. It's like, how did he catch that? Like, he shouldn't have. Just little things like that, which can be very frustrating, and I'll get more into some of the major animation flukes in a little bit here, but either way, just overall the animations need to be rehauled and worked on. And so if you play great defense, all of a sudden he doesn't catch a one-handed Odell type play, just things like that. It makes you want to throw your controller, makes you want to never play the game again. It's not as bad as it's been in years past, but it still could use some work, and I'm sure it will. Moving on to number 3, once again, they have made no major changes to franchise. I can't remember the last time they did the franchise. Franchise has been the same forever. It's just, I get it doesn't make EA the most money at all. That's obviously MUD. But still, there are people that like playing franchise only and should obviously reward those people. Like, I mean, some of the stuff is so easy. Like and a better halftime show, weekly recaps, better stat tracking, just making stadiums and uniforms and franchise, just stuff like that. Stuff that is easy to add and gives you a good user experience. I feel like that would help revamp the franchise so much more. Like, being able to watch games in franchise, while it may seem dumb, but like, you're in a playoff race, you want to play somebody, you're in a close playoff race and you want to watch and see how the team you're like competing with is doing. Like, you can't even watch the games. Just, I feel like just adding stuff like that wouldn't be too difficult, something they could easily do, but for whatever reason they still haven't made the major changes. Going on to number 2, this goes back to animations. One of my things is user miss picks. Lots of times you'll get a break on a ball and like a good jump on a ball, and all of a sudden the ball will go right through your hands or right over you, and it's a completed catch. That pisses me off when I play great defense, get a jump on the ball, think I have a pick, and then the guy completely misses it. Like, I understand if it's a D lineman I'm using and he misses it, like, whatever, he's bad, he's not supposed to catch the ball. That's fine. Or my middle linebacker who's got low catching, like, that's fine, but they should be able to at least knock the ball down. But my cornerback, like, you're telling me Richard Sherman on a break gets a good break on a ball, and he completely misses it. The dude's 6'3". How does he miss that ball? Like, how does he miss it? I feel like that happens too much. I like that they revamped the user a little bit, just because then obviously people can't just lurk you all the time, which I feel like that plays a big factor though. Like, that's all skill right there. If you lurk somebody, that's just knowing your opponent, knowing where they're gonna go the ball. You shouldn't take that away from them. And I do understand if it's like a linebacker or a D lineman, but cornerbacks and safeties should be able to catch the ball, and most times than not, if it's right at you, you should be able to grab the ball. Alright, moving on to the number one thing, and I'm not too worried about this. They are gonna add a patch later in the game, so I do feel like the user picks and this will be revamped, but the fumbles need work. You put a good hit on somebody, more times than not, they fumble. You're talking about like 3 to 5 fumbles in the game, where NFL or previous mans, it'd be like 1 to 3. So a big upstick in fumbles, I feel like. That's the difference in the game right there, and it's not even your fault half time. I mean, you can't control when somebody fumbles the ball. Even if you protect the ball, I mean, you're running a lot slower for one, and you still fumble the ball. Stripping, same thing. The ball just gets knocked out way too easily, but I'm not too worried about that. That's going to be revamped, and hopefully they fix that in the near future. But overall, those are the 5 things that are good and bad about the game, that are major, and things that you will notice when you first start playing, or if you even do get the game. So just a quick recap of the good. Number 5 is speed matters. 4 is the new QB1 mode. 3, you can add pressure. 2, the running game actually matters. And 1, superstar X Factor abilities. Your players feel like more of superstars. And then for the bad is you can't make uniforms or stadiums. Animations need work. No major changes to franchise. Again. User picks, you sometimes miss ones that you shouldn't. And fumbles. But overall, guys, so far I am really liking this game. I'm actually having a lot of fun with it, grinding. My team's looking good, and I'm excited to see what they do this year. The gameplay is a lot better than what it's been in years past. It actually feels a lot more realistic, especially with the new Superstar and X Factor abilities. And actually using those abilities is really, really fun. When you're in a freaking zone and you're just throwing dots. It's really fun. Overall, the game's been pretty good so far. They're gonna patch some things up, like the fumbles and user picks, but overall the game's good. And one thing I forgot to add for those who play MUT that I really like is, one of my favorite things is they finally added you can go to the next solo. After you finally finish a solo, you can just press go to next solo, and then obviously you go to the next solo, and you don't have to keep backing out and going back in, and it's just a huge waste of time. But overall, I do recommend getting Madden if you're on the fence about it, or do kind of want to see if it's better. I wasn't going to get it this year, but I saw some of the changes, and I'm like, okay, I might as well give it a chance. And so far, they've made the necessary changes. The game feels more realistic, and it's actually good, and I'm having a lot of fun with it, guys. So I do recommend it. I hope this video helped some of those who were on the fence and didn't know whether to get it or not. But yeah, I'll catch you guys next time. Peace!